Welcome to WEI Tech Talk, episode 62, HPE Compute. My name is Jay Cardin. I'm a solutions architect here at WEI. I've been a solutions architect for about 13 years now. With me is Matt Leal, also a solutions architect. Matt, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Matt Leal here, pre-sale solutions architect with WEI. I've been a solutions architect for, let's see, about 8 years. So I've been with WEI for about 3 years now. Prior to that, I used to work for HPE. So
All
that's
right,
me.
very good. Well, I think we want to start today's tech talk here with just some important announcements that WEI was recently awarded by HPE the status of Triple Platinum. Now, this is a elite status that recognizes WEI's sustained performance and strength of its engineering team, which is made up of more than 100 certified engineers. And also, WEI holds many advanced HPE accreditations across multiple disciplines, whether it's compute, storage, networking, or hybrid cloud. So very exciting news. I don't know if you'd heard that, Matt, but that was something that had just been released in the past week or so.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that, but I'd imagine some of the certifications that I had taken at Tech Jam would help to build towards that number you mentioned.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now you have your HP Mace status today, correct?
I do. Yep, I took that last year in the hybrid cloud category.
Outstanding. That is not a simple certification track for sure. So today we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the recent announcements or advancements from HP around compute specifically. I know you and I were talking before we started recording about some products that you thought were pretty revolutionary, at least in the HPE compute space. You know, we had mentioned that there's a new product from HPE called the DL145. This is a specialized compute server designed around edge computing. But Matt, what can you tell me about this new DL145?
Sure, yeah. So like I mentioned, I was just at Tech Jam about a month ago now, at the end of March here in this year of 2026. And yeah, it was one of the things that they were excited to talk about, and I sat in on a session and learned a little bit more. So the DL145 Gen 11, it's an AMD based system, single socket 2U. It fits really nicely into certain use cases around retail, manufacturing. It is a ruggedized chassis, but it's also incredibly quiet. So it's really
Okay.
meant to be, yeah, it's really meant to be put into spaces where they're being occupied by people, or into spaces that have different sorts of challenges around dust, or temperatures.
Gotcha. So yeah, manufacturing plants and things like that where temperature swings and dust, like you mentioned. Now, this is a 1U chassis or is it a 2U chassis? What's the form factor on this?
Yeah, it's a 2U chassis, but single processor. So it's got a good
Okay.
balance of, expandability. You can add, a number of drives, or PCIe cards to the back, and it's very power efficient, being that it's only a single socket.
Okay. So yeah, the now this is a generation 11 server, but
Mhm.
this is because it's AMD, is that right?
Correct. Yeah, it may be a little confusing. We are currently on generation 12 on the Intel side of the house. This more has to do with the socket that's available in the DL145. It's the same as the previous generation, so they're sort of interchangeable. When they go to the new socket, I'm not sure what HP will call it, but yeah, that's sort of the reason for the naming convention there.
Excellent, excellent. Now, when we get into some of the use cases, you mentioned like manufacturing, or you mentioned also that it could be used in areas where there's noise constraints. What do you see kind of as more of like an application or use space? Is this going to be used for virtualization, or is it going to be used for, what type of services would you see running on this type of server?
Yeah, I mean, it's a general purpose system. It's an x86 platform. So yeah, you could have multiple of them, cluster them together, and you can have a small virtualization cluster. That could be, you could be running the back end for a POS system. It could be helping to support um, security camera systems, really anything you could think of. There is no specific application that it's geared towards. Any sort of application that you would typically see in an edge environment. One of the things that HPE was talking about a little bit is, and as they always are, artificial intelligence at the edge. So it is the 145 is capable of supporting a GPU. So if you're trying to do some sort of computer vision, object detection, any sort of AI or GPU
GPU
accelerated application.
accelerated. Yep.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned that there's a lot of, or there's more drive space or drive slots available. So that this sounds like a good use case for, like you mentioned, video surveillance. What are the drive form factors for this chassis?
Yeah, so obviously you can support your traditional small form factor and large form factor drives. Off the top of my head, I believe you'd also be able to support the EDSFF drive form factor as well. Um,
Okay, so density then as well, high speed density.
mhm.
Well, that's great. That sounds like a terrific server around the edge compute side. HP's made some other unique products recently, but also upgrading some of their existing feature sets in their other servers. And one of the most notable ones is their ILO, Insight Lights Out. I think they're currently on version 7 with the Gen 12 servers.
Mhm.
What's new with ILO 7?
Yeah, so I think ILO is something that HPE servers are known for. We're on the seventh generation now, and they have made some significant advancements with the latest generation. So really, the one of the biggest things is they're the first to support FIPS Level 3 compliance, as well as some newer standards from NIST and CNSA around quantum resistance, which is something we're going to start to see more and more.
What
There,
is quantum resistance? How is that relevant for
yeah. So
end users?
there's a major concern amongst multiple industries and cybersecurity experts that the threat that quantum computing could compose to today's traditional encryption methodologies. Essentially, with a fast enough computer, any encryption standard can be broken, and quantum computers are going to be, promised to be the fastest and most capable computing systems, that we've ever seen. Far more powerful than anything that's available today.
Okay,
Um,
so this is really future proofing the security of these servers in essence.
Yep, and organizations like NIST and CNSA have come together and produced some standards, some new methods for encryption that are meant to be resistant to brute force and quantum-based attacks.
Now, what can you tell me about Secure Enclave? Because this is
Mhm.
another part of ILO 7, but I don't think really not too many people know what this is.
Yeah,
What is Secure Enclave?
yep. So the secure enclave, the way I like to think about it is it's essentially a TPM module for your management processor. It's where you're going to store secrets and passwords and the security configuration for ILO in this secure enclave. And the idea is it's immutable storage. So anyone trying to attack your system or get access to those encryption keys would be unable to, thanks to this secure enclave that's built into the ILO 7 chip.
Outstanding. Now, these features are just part of ILO 7, and they're leveraging some of this new hardware that HP is doing now. Um, One of the other features that I've heard on the Gen 12 platform is something called direct liquid cooling. And what can you tell me about that? That's not a security function. That's more something environmental.
Correct. Yeah. So the liquid cooling in general, I think, is being largely driven by higher thermal capacities and demand for processors, which is obviously driven by the amount of power it takes to drive today's top of the line Intel or AMD processors. So HPE has done a really good job of making available some of these direct liquid cooling solutions, both for larger data center wide open loop systems, but they've taken that same sort of technology that's being used for years in the high performance computing space to cool supercomputers, and bringing that to your standard x86 system, 1U or 2U server, with a closed loop liquid cooling solution.
That sounds expensive. I mean, is this something that the data center needs to, accommodate? Is this going to require any new types of cabinets? I know a lot of those liquid cooling systems were very extensive. So is this direct liquid cooling something that people are going to have to retrofit data centers for?
Yeah, so that's an excellent point, and ultimately the answer is no. It essentially what you can think of, HPE's closed loop coolers is basically like its own little radiator, like you would have in a car that sits directly inside the server itself. It's just using the fans within that system to blow air through that, and that's how it's cooling that liquid. So actually, there's no additional fittings, or you don't need to actually supply an outside line into that system. It's
Oh,
all
very
contained
good.
and closed. Yeah.
So that means people can use this even within their own private data centers, maybe not in special co-location facilities, but
Hmm.
in their own data centers where they wouldn't have that type of equipment. So
Right.
that's great. Now, also something we wanted to talk about on the Generation 12 series is some new software that HP is making available, and I know they're rolling into the Green Lake consumption model, which has really kind of changed the way that people can consume compute resources. But tell me a little bit about HP CloudOps
Mhm.
software suite. What is CloudOps, and how does that really help HPE customers?
Sure. Yeah. So cloud ops is, in the way I think about it, it's a culmination of a number of acquisitions that HP has made over the past several years. So there's three main components to it. There's the HPE Morpheus Enterprise, HPE OpsRamp, and HPE Zerto. So Morpheus Enterprise Software, this was an acquisition that HP made a couple of years ago now. So along with their own hypervisor that they acquired, the larger Morpheus Enterprise platform is really designed to help users provision and orchestrate application service delivery. So streamlining the workload provisioning via self-service, and it's sort of automating the full software delivery pipeline. It's capable of provisioning across multiple and hybrid clouds. So it's can manage and spin up applications on-prem as well as in the major cloud providers.
So this
Um,
sounds like it's really to accelerate the ability to spin up virtual machines as needed, but also private cloud and in the public cloud. Is that
mhm.
right?
Yeah, and it extends beyond virtual machines. You
Oh,
can manage containerized environments with Morpheus Enterprise as well.
okay. So Kubernetes types environments.
Hmm.
Oh, outstanding. You had mentioned Zerto as well. Now, I remember Zerto from many years ago as a one of the top tier disaster recovery, business continuity type of applications. Is this the same application?
Yeah, yep. So it's still the Zerto that many customers know and use on a day-to-day basis. But HP's continued to develop on that platform, and they've brought some really new and interesting features to the Zerto platform. The first one being their cyber resilience vault. And essentially, you can think of this as very similar to how Object Lock works. for object-based storage, basically making your data immutable that you were replicating with Zerto. This is especially pertinent when you're trying to protect against ransomware. So
Right.
along that same vein, something that's new with Zerto is its capability to detect ransomware and detect when you're being exactly when you're being affected by ransomware, which is very important when you're trying to recover from a ransomware attack.
Gotcha. The Zerto software is able to identify the signs of a ransomware attack, like encryption, if your data is being encrypted or being, I'm assuming, deleted as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And these are this is just software that HP is making available for within this Cloud Ops suite, and this is generally focused towards GreenLake customers or any customer.
Yeah, so the Cloud Ops suite is available to all customers, but yeah, especially for those who are already part of and are using the HPE GreenLake platform. There's actually one more piece that it would be remiss if we didn't mention, and that's around HPE Ops Ramp, which is another acquisition that they made just a couple of years ago now.
Now, I've
Really
not
what
heard of Ops Ramp. What is that? What is that for?
Yeah, so it's a monitoring and alerting platform, full stack observability, and provides real-time insights into metrics, logs. It's basically collecting logs and traces from a number of different data sources, and there really is. It's hard to find the limits to which the data sources that Ops Ramps will support. But the magic really happens after it's collected all that data. Has some really interesting capabilities around being able to analyze and correlate events. The idea is that if you're able to correlate events and reduce the amount of noise that your IT admins are exposed to, gives them a better idea of where they need to focus. It can also help reduce the amount of time it takes to resolve issues because you're able to correlate different systems, and that'll make it more obvious as to where the problem really lies.
Now, is this something that customers are going to have to deploy or run within their environment?
Actually, so no, all of the three software pieces that we just mentioned are all hosted in the HPE cloud. There may be elements that you need to run in your environment, but for the most part, these are cloud-based, or I should say SaaS-based services.
Excellent. So yeah, so you're adding additional functionality and features, but not having to run large software stacks just for the management and the monitoring type software. That's terrific.
Yep, that's exactly right.
All right. Well, I think that covers at least some of the topics we wanted to talk about today. Thanks, Matt, for jumping on and going through some of these newer features on the Gen 12 platform, and also talking about the new DL145 Gen 11. That is a very intriguing server that I think a lot of people will find uses for. So, with that, we'll conclude. Thank you for listening, and again, thanks for Matt and joining us today. And please be sure to follow us on LinkedIn. Have a good day.